And border security. We know it's an issue that's important to Republicans, Democrats, voters across the board in this country. Vice President Harris, you were tasked by President Biden with getting to the root causes of migration from Central America. We know that illegal border crossings reached a record high in the Biden administration. This past June, President Biden imposed tough new asylum restrictions. We know the numbers since then have dropped significantly. But my question to you tonight is, why did the administration wait until 6 months before the election to act? And would you have done anything differently from President Biden on this?
So I'm the only person on this stage who has prosecuted transnational criminal organizations for the trafficking of guns, drugs, and human beings. And let me say that the United States Congress, including some of the most conservative members of the United States Senate, came up with a border security bill which I supported. And that bill would have put 1,500 more border agents on the border to help those folks who are working there right now overtime trying to do their job. It would have allowed us to stem the flow of fentanyl coming into the United States. I know there are so many families watching tonight who have been personally affected by the surge of fentanyl in our country. That bill would have put more resources to allow us to prosecute transnational criminal organizations for trafficking in guns, drugs, and human beings. But you know what happened to that bill? Donald Trump got on the phone, called up some folks in Congress, and said, kill the bill. And you know why? Because he'd prefer to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem. And understand, this comes at a time where the people of our country actually need a leader who engages in solutions, who actually addresses the problems at hand. But what we have in the former president is someone who would prefer to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem. And I'll tell you something, he's going to talk about immigration a lot tonight, even when it's not the subject that is being raised. And I'm going to actually do something really unusual, and I'm going to invite you to attend one of Donald Trump's rallies, because it's a really interesting thing to watch. You will see during the course of his rallies, he talks about fictional characters like Hannibal Lecter. He will talk about windmills cause cancer. And what you will also notice is that people start leaving his rallies early out of exhaustion and boredom. And I will tell you, the one thing you will not hear him talk about is you. You will not hear him talk about your needs, your dreams, and your desires. And I'll tell you, I believe you deserve a president who actually puts you first, and I pledge to you that I will.
Vice President Harris, thank you. President Trump, on that point, I want to get your response.
Well, I would like to respond.
Let me just ask, though, why did you try to kill that bill, and successfully so, that would have put thousands of additional agents and officers on the border?
First, let me respond as to the
Please.
rallies. She said people start leaving. People don't go to her rallies. There's no reason to go. And the people that do go, she's bussing them in and paying them to be there, and then showing them in a different light. So she can't talk about that. People don't leave my rallies. We have the biggest rallies, the most incredible rallies in the history of politics. That's because people want to take their country back. Our country is being lost. We're a failing nation. And it happened 3.5 years ago. And what's going on here, you're going to end up in World War III, just to go into another subject. What they have done to our country by allowing these millions and millions of people to come into our country, and look at what's happening to the towns all over the United States. And a lot of towns don't want to talk. It's not going to be Aurora or Springfield. A lot of towns don't want to talk about it because they're so embarrassed by it. In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there. And this is what's happening in our country, and it's a shame. As far as rallies are concerned, as far as the reason they go is they like what I say. They want to bring our country back. They want to make America great again. It's a very simple phrase, make America great again. She's destroying this country, and if she becomes president, this country doesn't have a chance of success. Not only success, we'll end up being Venezuela on steroids.
I just want to clarify here. You bring up Springfield, Ohio, and
So, you want to go first, or you want me to go first?
I mean, I'll go first. I mean, we really didn't get the point of Trump didn't really get his chance to defend or answer the actual question. I will say, like, Kamala, the very first thing that she did was instantly deflected and aimed towards her competitor, to just try to kind of bash the competitor and not answer the question whatsoever. So, like, from a sales perspective, I would never want to do that. You instantly lose trust. This may be a little bit different, but she didn't answer the question, nor did Trump really answer the question. They both just kind of went at each other. I guess she had more time to answer the question, which she didn't, but there's not really a clear winner on this one to me.
I almost think it's a draw too. Listen, taking out any personal thoughts here about candidacy and presidency, I can tell you that I feel like Kamala was definitely more prepared in what she was saying because Donald just got a little rattled, right? And in sales, a lot of times, I think that if you're dealing with a prospect and they get you rattled, you tend to lose, right? Mm-hmm. Like they see it, they know for a fact that they've got you, right? Like they said the one thing that got you off your game, which is going to make you not be the best version of yourself in the sales process. And one thing that Kamala did that I thought was pretty good. She immediately blocked the whole immigration thing. I don't know if you heard her. She goes, look, I know what Donald's going to say. He's going to talk about integration and bring it up in times and when we don't need to bring it up, but he's going to talk about it the entire time, right? Yeah. I also think that because if I'm saying that, let's say Kamala's a prospect and Donald is the rep, not only did he get rattled, but he got defensive. And when someone has an opinion about something you're pitching in sales, if they don't agree with you, the worst thing you can do is get defensive, right? Because it just shows that they've won again. They've got you rattled. Like, don't get defensive. Try to understand what they're saying and then respond. But I do agree with you. I don't think he had enough time to respond the way he wanted to, and I think that goes a long way. You got to answer the question at hand. He didn't answer the moderator's question either, which I hated in this one, right? He said, "Why did you get rid of that bill?" Right? Well, here's the thing about that. If I'm Kamala and I am the moderator is asking him a question when he really should have asked her the question. You could have created this bill with Biden for 3.5 years. If I'm Donald Trump in a sales I would have immediately said, well, let me ask a question. I'd answer why I didn't do it in the first place. I'd give her my reasons if he did deny it. I don't really know because I don't know much about it, right? I would give my answer, but then I would turn around and simply ask, well, let me ask you a question. Why haven't you made these changes as well, too, as a question format? Give her a chance to answer because she's had 3.5 years, right, to do this. The Biden administration has had 3.5 years to do this. But also give her a chance. And in sales, that's a lot of times what I would do, too. Well, why did you guys get rid of this service with your product? Well, I'm going to answer why, right? And I'm going to say, well, let me ask you something. If it was you, what would you have done differently, right, to see what their reply would have been, and then use that as ammo to move forward in the sales process.
If you're asked a direct question and your instant response is either deflection, blaming someone else, going around, not addressing it head on, then instantly I'm thinking, what do you got to hide?
Right.
Or I got you.
Totally.
You don't want to tell me the truth because it's not something that I'm going to want to hear. Yeah. I think it's one of the reasons that a lot of people don't trust politicians in the first place, especially in a debate setting. But I mean, from a sales perspective, you got to answer the question head on. I think they would gain more trust. One thing that she did that I think will work for some people is she started to talk to the people that matter, which is not the moderator. It's all the Americans watching the debate. She looked straight at camera and she started talking. She said, she's talking to you. So as I'm watching, I'm like, oh shit, she's talking to me. Yeah. So it's one thing I like that she did there to try to save face from deflecting and blaming and all those other things. But so she tried to do some things well, nevertheless.
Well, and if your office is dealing with a company that eats cats, you probably shouldn't work with them, right? Dogs too, or no?
Dude, windmills cause cancer.
So does lobster, like a previous conversation.
Oh my
Shouldn't
God,
eat seafood.
dude.
Thanks, guys.
So funny.